Okay, we're back in business, and again, thank you so very much for joining us. A lot of the local stations have cut away right now, but for those of you who are still with us, I'm sure you just saw that Jay had this check here from Johnny Carson and his little group of production folks for $100,000. What a lovely boost that is. And in just about, thank you, and just about, we've been on the air for about 15, 20 minutes already, well over 1.5 million telephone calls. And again, we're pitching so strongly here for the simple reason we only have an hour. So many telethons go on, for 2 days, 1 day, maybe 3 days in some cases. This is just a 1 hour telethon when we're making our pitch. Again, Americans helping Americans, 1-800-842-2200. But you don't, of course, have to call during the show. You can call the Red Cross and make your pledge anytime, forever, from now till the year 2050, but the sooner the better. But stay with us for the rest of the show. We have some wonderful stories for you about human nature and how really great people can be when they want to be, and they are. So there.
And just in case you're just joining us, we are live in Des Moines, Iowa, with flood aid broadcast across America, and we need your help to help these flood victims put their lives back together. And we have one of the victims of this disastrous flood with us right now, Linda Harris and her son Chucky. They are from West Des Moines. And Linda,
Karen Harris.
Karen Harris. Well, at this hour of the day, it's tough to keep all the names straight. I'm sure someone named Linda has been affected by this flood too. Karen, tell us how it's affected your life.
Oh, we had about 2.5 feet of water in our first level of our house, and we're not able to live there now, so we're basically living out of hotels till we get into an apartment so they can fix our floors and our walls and make it livable again.
Do you have any idea how long it's going to take to put it back into living condition? What it's going to cost you? What is it going to take?
Months, probably a couple months. We've got insurance, thank God, so that'll cover a lot of it, but it won't replace everything.
How in the world do you keep your spirits up? I've been standing here next to you for about 10 minutes now, and you are smiling. You seem so happy and so strong and so brave. How in the world do you do it?
Well, a lot of it has to do with the Red Cross because they've just come through for us. We didn't have any idea what we were going to do, and we went down there and they give us money for clothes and food and shelter, and they've just been about as good as you can get. They've been just like family. So.
And speaking of family, how is Chucky holding up through all of this?
Oh, he misses his summer, but he's doing pretty good. He's
Karen Harris, thank you for joining us. Now we go over to Jay.
By the way, we have a message from Mark McEwen of CBS. He says, Willard, drink the tap water.
Enjoy.
Knock yourself out.
That gives you what they call the Cincinnati quick step. We don't drink the tap water yet. Mark, we miss you very, very much. One of the nicest human beings God ever put on this earth. And we are here, of course, to raise that money. 1 hour, actually less than that, about 40 minutes, 1-800-842-2200. Please give us a call. Make your pledge. It's for the best cause in the world, Americans helping Americans all up and down the Mississippi River and in the Mississippi River Valley. Dubuque and Iowa City, these are some of the cities that were hit hardest by this. You watch. We have some videotape to show you some of the stories. Check it out. Cedar Rapids, Dubuque, and Iowa City.
This is KGAN anchor Amy Johnson along the flooded Iowa River in Iowa City. A river that threatens this water plant and the drinking water supply for 50,000 people with each new downpour. Volunteers sandbagging the plant hope the rains will quit and the threat will end. So far, it hasn't.
I've got kids at home and I don't know what I'd do without fresh water.
I have a kid at home, so I've got to make sure.
The flooding affected 1,500 people in the county at one time, closing businesses and damaging several University of Iowa buildings. The problem is this reservoir upriver is overflowing. Never before has water poured over this spillway. Never before has flooding on both sides of the dam been this bad.
Thank God this only happens once in a lifetime.
The backed up lake forced the closing of Interstate 380 and is causing more problems upriver.
Summer we have to do, I would say, 3/4 of our business. And if we don't do it, we're like the farmers. We lost it. You know, the people that aren't coming this week aren't going to come in December.
But through it all, flood victims are trying to keep a sense of humor about the disaster.
Everybody is just cracking up over it, having their pictures taken by it and everything. It just, take your mind off the flood and stuff.
I'm KCRG TV news anchor Bruce Owney, standing along Indian Creek, a small stream that turned into a raging torrent after recent heavy rains. Rescue crews in boats took to water-filled streets, ferrying people and animals to safety.
Look around for that thing, you guys.
All the water flooded 3 out of 4 basements in Cedar Rapids, sending raw sewage into many of them. Norma McCormick lost everything.
Everything, my bed, my stereo, my clothes, my TV, everything I had.
A week later, floodwaters shut down the Cedar Rapids sewage treatment plant. City leaders issued an emergency plea. Conserve water or raw sewage will back up into your home. Thankfully, the plea for help worked, and the plant went back online 3 days later. Despite problems of their own, neighbors helped neighbors when they needed it most. Hundreds of volunteers answered the call to fill 20,000 sandbags to protect a saturated levee.
It shows me that people do care for one another, that they want to reach out, they want to help.
This is KDUB anchor Steve Farber in East Dubuque, Illinois, where people say the flood of '93 couldn't be worse.
Not only did Mississippi floodwaters threaten their town from the outside, but the dike system protecting them kept flash floodwaters in.
It's just hard to believe.
We had to get out. It's bad.
And when a retaining wall on this drainage ditch collapsed, more than 400 people fled their homes. 50 miles upriver in Marquette, Iowa, volunteers struggled to keep saturated dikes from breaking. They fought day and night against the swollen rivers and driving rains.
I think the dike will hold. We're going to make it hold. This is a river town. We're not going to give up.
In Glen Haven, Wisconsin, flash floodwaters from one rainstorm swept these cars and trucks down the streets. It was a ride of terror for James Knapp.
Started up the street and it stalled, and turned sideways and flipped over on its side. Then it flipped over on its top, and then it flipped over on its wheels again, so I got out.
Now where's your vehicle?
It's under the bridge over there, and you can see the one tire sticking out.
Fortunately, no one was seriously hurt in the Glen Haven flash flood.
This is KWWL anchor Liz Mathis. The floods are not isolated to rivers and streams, but they are found here in Iowa's farm fields. These corn stalks should be much higher than this, and in some cases, many cases, the stalks are about this high. That could take a lot of farmers under, and it could affect your pocketbook.
We have a number of recommendations again.
U.S. Agriculture Secretary Mike Espy sees firsthand how critical this growing season will be.
It's just been saturated all spring.
The rains prevented Iowa farmers from planting 1 million acres of crops this year.
When you lose 10% of a crop, it's significant.
And local farmers' co-ops, usually the economic heart of small towns, will be suffering too.
When that farmer's down, all of us elevators are in trouble.
And so are the small ag-based towns like Chelsea, where residents have had enough.
Yeah, it's getting really stressful on a lot of people.
From our farms to our cities, eastern Iowa communities are hoping for drier days and realizing that life won't be back to normal for weeks, if not years, to come. This is Liz Mathis for Flood Aid, broadcast across America.
And so far, the response has been tremendous. Jay, can you believe we've got 2 million calls already? We've only been on for a half hour.
It's all to see if you and Willard are getting along.
That's probably what it is.
What are you three idiots doing? This is Flood Aid, broadcast across America. And we need you to call. And remember, the Monsanto Corporation called just a few moments ago and said they will match anyone's pledge who says Monsanto up to $2 million.
That's absolutely amazing.
Other corporations may call also. It's 1-800-842-2200. We're only here live for an hour, but
right.
The phones will be open 24 hours today and then indefinitely on into the future.
That's it. So if you don't get your call in within this half hour that's left in the program, you can still call after we're off the air, and please do. We need your help. And now we go over to Willard.
Hey, I think that's great, the Charlie Gibson dartboard. You're giving that away as a special bonus to the first 5 million who call us right here. We are indeed honored to have with us the First Lady of the American Red Cross, and from her Washington office, the National Red Cross headquarters, President of the American Red Cross, Elizabeth Dole, and good evening to you, madam.
Hello, Willard. It's great to be with you tonight. You know, I'm grateful that I didn't have to wait till I was 100 years old to appear with you on my birthday, Willard.
Well, I was going to, you've jumped me on that. That was my closer, because I was going to say in 75 years, I'll be able to wish you a happy 100th birthday.
Oh, thank you, Willard.
Indeed, this is your birthday today.
Yes, indeed. It's been a wonderful day, and I'm so happy to be with you tonight and to be able to thank you and the television stations and radio stations for all that you're doing for the flood victims. We're just happy to have you on the American Red Cross Disaster Relief Team.
Well, it's a pleasure. I'm glad that we can give you a nice birthday present. Already over 2 million calls, and we've
Isn't that marvelous?
Isn't that terrific? We've only been on the air for a half an hour. Are you getting all the financial help that you can use right now?
Well, you know, the American people are very generous, and it's wonderful to see them open their hearts and open their pocketbooks to help people who have suffered so very much. And so we are getting a great deal of financial assistance, but we had a record number of disasters last year before Hurricane Andrew hit, and obviously we need to be prepared for what will happen next. So we welcome those contributions, and certainly with Monsanto Agricultural Group, isn't that a wonderful gift that they have given? And I hope people will call in and just say that word Monsanto, because it'll double their contributions.
That's a beautiful word, Monsanto, Monsanto,
yes.
Monsanto. Where does this money go? You've had a rough time the last couple of years. I mean, it's been incredible. One weather disaster after the other.
That's right.
Hurricanes. Where does the money go, Elizabeth?
Well, first of all, the Red Cross is there. Immediate response with shelters. We provide not only a roof over a person's head, but the food, the clothing, the medical assistance, whatever they might need in the way of emergency relief. And in the floods, of course, this has been a prolonged situation, and we have mental health workers who are helping those who are under a great deal of stress over these many weeks. Then as the waters recede, we do our damage assessment, and we provide vouchers so that people can buy the items that they need, whether it be groceries or bedding or other kinds of items that they need to get back on their feet. We help them find temporary housing. So we're there to be of any assistance that we can be during an emergency situation, and of course during the cleanup as well.
Well, you're fantastic, and I want to say good night to you at this time, and also to that fuzzy little thing you sleep with at the end of the bed. And I'm not talking about Mr. Dole, I'm talking about the Schnauzer. What's the dog's name?
Leader. That's right.
My favorite Schnauzer. You're terrific.
Thank you, Willard.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you.
All right, Willard. Once again, we need your help. And the number for you to call is 1-800-842-2200. Let me tell you, I've seen firsthand a little bit of what this disaster is like. I spent all of last week in Missouri. I was in towns around St. Louis like West Alton and Portage de Sioux and Arnold, where entire communities were underwater. People had lost everything they'd worked all their lives to build up. And yet we saw people coming together in the spirit of community, crossing all racial lines, cultural lines, economic lines, to help each other and to lean on each other. And that's what we need the rest of this country to do now. We need you to do that. Come together in a national spirit of community to help us out. And now for all those local flood aid stations that need to cut away, this is the time.